I am begging you to start reading, even if you think you hate it. Now, in front of me are a ton of different books, and none of these books are the classic self-help or self-improvement books that many people preach you should read nowadays. Something you might not know yet, brother, is that there are actually fun books that you can read as a young man that will inspire you to such an amount that it will give you energy for years to come. You see, I do not read books in order to build new routines or habits, because if you're new on this channel, we live the holistic lifestyle, and that doesn't mean that we cage ourselves into new routines or habits trackers. It means that we're looking for energy, inspiration, and progress in meaningful things. And an amazing way to get there is by reading actual stories of men or women who did the impossible. All my favorite books are not an attempt of an author trying to persuade you into living a new lifestyle. These were all written by men who documented an amazing story and wanted to share it with us. And in this video, I want to recommend to you a few books that are my favorites. They're all on Amazon. You can order them today and probably get them tomorrow and start diving into stories you've never knew existed. And the most beautiful thing is that you'll slowly start to realize that your suffering is just a bunch of nonsense. You might think you're going through a lot, and a lot of different content creators and books online are just confirming that belief. But once you start learning about a man who survived the Holocaust in the horrible extermination camp of Auschwitz, or you start learning about a crew who was trapped in Antarctica for about a year because their ship got stuck in ice, or you start learning about a young man who conquered the entire known world before he was 27. I mean, let's be honest, brother, that sounds a little bit more interesting than Ali Abdaal's feel-good productivity, right? Now, which one out of these three books is my absolute favorite? I am going to have to pick Alexander the Great by Philip Freeman. You see, we live in a very strange time for women and especially for men. We used to value ourselves by our strength, by our ability to fight and provide for our families, but now it seems that this line between men and women is slowly getting blurred, and it leaves a lot of young men and it used to leave me very confused as well. You're literally seeing stuff like looks maxing online nowadays, and I'm just sitting here wondering, like, isn't that what women do? And I'm not here to decide what women should do and what men should do, but it is very fucking clear that there's a big meaning crisis for both genders. Back in the day in ancient Greece, this wasn't the case. It was very simple. Men were fucking beasts, and they had all the right, and they still have all the right to be that way. And I'm not saying that I'm a beast. I'm following a lot of footsteps that society basically laid out for me. And I understand that we cannot conquer the entire world like Alexander the Great. Sadly, or luckily, that time has passed. And now this book is incredible. You basically follow the life from day 0 to his last day of Alexander the Great. It feels like you're sitting on a horse beside him and exploring different new realms and kingdoms. It is once you read what these men went through and what they accomplished that you suddenly start thinking much different about your own life. I mean, many people do not even have the motivation or the energy to walk into the gym and do the workout that they told themselves they were gonna do. But these guys crossed mountain ranges in the middle of winter without any food and without any modern clothing. They marched through deserts simply to find a temple to honor the gods. They had an entire different state of mind. They weren't so obsessed about themselves. They were very connected with what made them, and they felt bonded to each other. And that's something that we miss nowadays, and reading this book makes you realize that you can still find that. And it's what I am actually building now here with this YouTube channel, with creating all this content on Instagram and TikTok, and trying to find men who want to reconnect with their soul, with their spirit, and actually do something and add something to this world. So by the way, if you haven't joined our community yet, you're welcome to join. It's the first link in the description. This is a truly inspiring book, and it'll change your life. It'll be hard at first to get into, but I highly recommend it. Alexander the Great by Philip Freeman. Then we go over to A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. This is a very short read. You can actually read it in about a week or 2 weeks if you're a new reader. But the first half of the book is basically following how this man, this innocent man, and his family got into an extermination camp. This was a Jewish family, and his entire family got killed at the gates of Auschwitz. And there he was, sitting in his extermination camp, not having done anything wrong. And he simply believed that there was still meaning to life. And this was what made him survive. He noticed around him that all the people that were struggling and suffering from these horrible things that they went through, most of them died at a moment where they lost hope, where they thought that all meaning in life was gone. But this man, despite having lost his his lovely wife, and his beautiful children still managed to find meaning somehow. And especially after the war, you can imagine when you return home in an empty house without anyone having gone through the most horrible things you can imagine, how will you find meaning in such a moment? Well, he made that his entire career and his life's purpose. He helped other men and women find meaning after going through huge traumatic experiences. And it truly makes you realize that even if your life feels hopeless, if you think that everything is against you, you can still find meaning and you can still have something that you can wake up for every single morning until the day you die. And there's quite a lot of psychology in here, especially in the last parts of the book, but especially the first half of the book, you will be dragged through. It's an amazing book, and the meaning and the message behind it just beats everything. Now the last one is one that literally made me sleep deprived. You see, back when I was still living at home, I was reading this book, and at one moment I was so sucked in this book, and 4 hours passed of me just sitting in the living room reading this book. And at one point I looked up and everyone was asleep. The dogs were laying there sleeping. It was pitch black outside. I looked at my phone and it was 2 a.m. This is an incredible story. More than 100 years ago, Ernest Shackleton and his crew set out to cross the Antarctic continent. But well, you can imagine, 100 years ago, the ships weren't that strong. And these men got stuck in the ice, and at one point the ship cracked and their ship sunk. Now there wasn't any communication to the outside world at that time, and so they were stuck on Antarctica. But well, as you can imagine, there's a book written about it. So I will not tell you how and how many men actually survived, but they made it back. And you're following the entire story of how this 1-year journey of suffering, permanent cold, almost freezing to death, actually led them back home. So brother, you're still here. First of all, thank you for watching this entire little bit of books, because this is an entire different type of content that I usually make, but I thought it was mandatory to actually explain you the importance of reading these books, because I always have this bookshelf at the back of me and I never really talk about it, but it actually changed my life tremendously. If you want to watch another video of me, then you can check it out here. And if you're against the grind set and you want to start living a more holistic lifestyle, then come join the Brotherhood. It's the first link in the description, and I'll see you in there. Thank you for watching.